develop a decision-making algorithm based on cloud storage. حيدر طالب مهدي الأحمر الفرات الأوسط Technical University Technical College المسيب. Introduction. Despite many developments and improvement in mobile devices, it still suffers from their limited capabilities such as short battery life, limited processing capabilities, small storage space that can be overcome by canceling implementation locally and attribute it to the cloud. In this researcher, all cases have been applied to method implementation in mobile applications, which can be either Java methods, C++ methods, or CUDA methods that require calculations to be performed on the cloud service graphic processor GPU. The results are set for each possible implementation case locally, remotely, based on the decision-making algorithm by determining the implementation time, taking into account the mobile device, CPU speed, network performance, application program, character signing, and cloud server efficiency. Purpose. Proposing and developing an algorithm for decision-making and attribute implementation before starting it, according to the network status, as well as developing an application using Android Studio. Accompanying this research, through which the best method of implementation can be determined, and this it becomes possible to make the final decision and determining a clear mechanism for implementation and choosing between two states, either the implementation local on the cloud server. Methodology. The figure shows next a blueprint for the working mechanism used in this research. Considering that the method used to choose that method of implementation is dynamic based on the proposed decision-making algorithm. The unit responsible for identifying the characteristics of the mobile device, device profiler, and the application analyzer calculate the cost of the method when operating on the mobile device according to the CPU speed and the complexity of the application program. The network profiler unit calculates the cost of data transmission for each method that must be assigned, taking into account the network properties and amount of data transmitted from each method. Using all the information provided, the decision-making algorithm calculates and decides assign implementation to the mobile application before starting to implement it. The figure shows next a box diagram of the unit that were built to help the algorithm make the appropriate decision regarding the most appropriate method of implementation. Key findings. The results are obtained according to 3 scenarios, and each of the 3 scenarios will be implemented according to the 3 strategies next. 1. Implementation locally. 2. Remote implementation. 3. Take into account the total implementation time. the implementation was carried out in each of the three scenarios, considering that implementation is 10 times locally, then implementation 10 times by distance, then implementation 10 times depending on the algorithm. Conclusion: the main difference between the two algorithms lies in the fact that the modified algorithm does not calculate the cost of data transmission when the implementation method is not different. For example, remote. Develop a decision-making algorithm based on cloud storage. حيدر طالب مهدي كوليج المسيب. Perform remote execution when the meter size is small, as in the case of 4 ministers, because it compares with the input threshold from the user, while time saving of 70.01 millisecond. When increasing the complexity of the problem, we find that the original algorithm will reach an implementation time that greater than the threshold entered by the user, and therefore the decision in this case will be local compliance. And from here we note the big difference in the time of execution between the two cases.